Welcome to AHRC TV's weekly roundup. I'm Josephina Bergström. This week we join a panel of Right Livelihood Award laureates in Mumbai at the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, where the first ever conference of laureates from the Asia-Pacific region was held last week. The Right Livelihood Award, also known as the Alternative Nobel Prize, was introduced in 1980 to honor and support those offering practical and exemplary answers to the most urgent challenges facing us today. A total of 158 persons and organizations from 65 countries have been bestowed this honor. On the 5th of March, as part of the conference, a panel discussion was held on the subject of transforming livelihoods, creating an enabling environment for civil society in the Asia-Pacific. The laureates on the panel were Afghan doctor and human rights defender Seema Samar, Indian social activist Medha Patkar, Dalit rights activist Ruth Manorama, and finally, the Asian Human Rights Commission's Director of Policy and Programs, Basil Fernando. AHRC TV brings you excerpts from the lively panel discussion.
It is invariably seen that the resistance also becomes necessary because whatever sources of livelihood generations old, sustainable and living, they have been protecting themselves and harnessing themselves and not just selling to the market-based purchasers. Those very livelihoods are becoming the attraction and the focus of the capital for the others who really want to take the largest share in the benefits. The Narmada movement, the Save Narmada movement, which received the Right Livelihood Award as back as in 90s, really is still fighting that battle because the riverine populations who are never consulted, never asked, become subjects of the destruction and destitution that is imposed through the large river valley projects. And hence the claims that we would replace your sources of livelihood or you would be absorbed in the arena of development benefits, you would be given an alternative to your present lifestyle, really fail to be realized. So these kinds of claims apart, we realize and understand that the communities who are holding on to their generation's old natural resource bases and to their human power based harnessing practices, which are more sustainable, more self-reliant, those communities need the space, role and primacy. They are all ready to do that, and they are not only for struggle after struggle and resistance, but here in India, for example, the government after government and much more the present government is really killing that space, taking away that space, blaming anyone who proposed the alternative positively, alternative in terms of technological choice to the present power generation models and paradigms, referring to the solar, wind power, human power, also micro-hydel projects and so on, or the water management practices which would be decentralized, the agricultural technology which would be more organic, integrated and not leading to the committing of suicides. All of them are targeted as anti-developmentalists, which is to be challenged, which is to be condemned, and in that we need the inputs of the civil society, the intellectuals, the academicians, the supporters from across the country and the world, because the changing of climates and the impacts ultimately really are global and not just the capital is global. So we all are really seeking these spaces when we are facing false cases, defamation and oppression, repression, physical attacks. We know that we still hold on and we still make a difference in terms of policy making, law making, as even the non-electoral politics, that is the politics of people's movements.
I think that people know that Afghanistan is almost in conflict since 4 decades. It's 37 years that we are in conflict. Afghanistan has not been a very rich country before. There was a lot of discrimination between different ethnic groups, between different religions, between different, of course, the sex between men and women. But since 1978 we are in conflict. Practically it's war every day. Although we have the different, as our moderator said, that we had different people, different players in Afghanistan, but who are the victims? It's the people of Afghanistan, and mainly women, because men are carrying the gun and they are part of the violators of human rights, but women are the one who are forgotten and nobody even talking about their needs, their basic needs. So I began my work with the provision of healthcare and education, because I think and I believe that the war in Afghanistan is so long and so aggressive is because of lack of education. One of the reasons. Of course, there's a lot of other reasons. Lack of justice, discrimination, poverty, corruption, and so on. But I believe one of the main cause is lack of education and a proper, good quality of education.
Without words like civil rights, justice, the question talking about enabling environment is very much of something in the air. As one time, when Mahatma Gandhi was asked whether Western, what do you think about Western civilization? He said it's a good idea. The same way, enabling environment, creating, writing fundamental rights, human rights, are very great ideas. And many of us, and many thousands of people are involved in fighting these great ideas. But we are not fighting these ideas in a very favorable environment. Everywhere what we see is that the very people who are supposed to protect rights are themselves a problem in developing countries. The police, the judiciary. And unless we bring these things into this discourse, I find very often the discourse on civil rights, the enabling environment and all this, while touching on certain problems, does not go into a fundamental problem of justice that is facing our countries. What is enabling environment where there is no possibility of guaranteeing justice? We don't have environment in our countries which can guarantee justice. I just returned about a week back from Burma, and talking to a number of lawyers who have suffered many years of prison sentences trying to fight their cases. Even to get a small thing done in their court, you have to bribe. And the bribery is a factor of our lives. Our environment is beset with bribery. And when I talk to many people and say the bribery is something that can be stopped, in our societies people don't believe this. I tell them, I am telling you this possible because I am also staying in Hong Kong, which is a small place, which has virtually overcome bribery. But if you go to South Asia, Southeast Asia, you tell anybody, they think you are talking fairy tales. I think we should realize that the ideas that you are talking about, for many, sounds like fairy tales. Unless we are willing to deal with this problem and to bring the problem of justice, the kind of institutions which are in fact creating oppressions rather than justice, I think our conversation will not be complete. So I try to, from that point of view, to make my little contribution on this during this discussion.
I come from a community, presently we are called Dalits. In the former language we have been called untouchables. Untouchability is prohibited by our constitution. There is no, untouchability practices by law. But there are not, in the law that prohibits untouchability, have 17 clauses to say, describes what is untouchability. But today, the researchers found out, especially from Hyderabad, and they set up, various studies in India. They found out about 171 forms of untouchability forms. It definitely includes low level and menial level of occupations. If anyone doing dirtiest work or meddling with dirty, and it is the Dalits. Of course, Like when you think of livelihood in this country, I think in the pyramid of livelihood, the lowest of the low is the Dalit, the tribals, and some of the minority groups in India. Nobody can deny. Any development project today, anything in the name of misuse of land by the government or private sector, women in urban setting. Yesterday, many of you went to the slums. Who are living in the slums? It is the Dalit in large number. If you really look at in the ladder of poverty in the economic setting, the Dalit in this country are the most poor. Nobody can deny. Like every time that we talk of the poor, we give a general face to the poor. We talk about livelihood, talk about Indian livelihood. It is not true. When you talk about livelihood, the first members of a community to be addressed is Dalits. Of course, poverty, oppression, exclusion, atrocities, powerlessness continue to be characterized the Dalit existence in India.
Whether the so-called marginalized or peripheralized populations are citizens of a nation state or not. If they are they and all of us, including the state actors, are bound by the constitution of a nation state or not? As far as the Indian Constitution is concerned, we have clear value framework of equity, liberty, justice, fraternity, and also socialism. The socialism and secularism were the two values which were brought to the Constitution a bit late, but they were no doubt reflected into the Constitution since beginning, because Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar was the forefather of the Constitution, of course. And the fundamental rights to the directive principles really tell us how the equitability and justice can be accrued to everyone that needs to be accrued. So if there is a violation of Constitution, not just violation of any particular law or less than that policy, it is the duty of every citizen to stand up and oppose it. So it is not really a struggle, it is a positive contribution to ensure that the Constitution is followed and not violated day in and day out. So we really not just demand and fight for rehabilitation, the alternative source of livelihood, but we say that we are already in possession of the various sources of livelihood. We have land, we have forest, we have the fields and the kalyans, grazing grounds, and we have fish, the aquatic wealth, and the river itself. How can you say that we are poor and hence we need to fall into the mainstream development paradigm and only then can we get the share in the benefits? Rather, you want our river to be snatched away. You want to divert our resources towards those who really are the haves, who already have much of it, profit to resources, and then you say that we should be reasonable, we should be accepting the paradigm, we should be sacrificing for the nation state, we should accept and admit that there is a principle of eminent domain where the state has the eminent domain and not the people, all of which is against the Constitution.
It is not only about the problem of executive, the responsibilities of judiciary, the judicial institutions, when it comes to the questions of land grabbing, everywhere one of the major problems today, whether it's Cambodia, Burma, Sri Lanka, India, major problem. What is the judicial institutions? What role does it play? It plays into the hands of the people who are more powerful. They collaborate in the scheme of injustice. So the very ideas of in terms of land, in terms of water, in terms of all the basic issues, I think we need also a more serious, deeper discourse with the people, trust the people. And there is Asia's one achievement is that there is an enormously developed population than we had a few decades back. you are speaking about improving the education as an important aspect. Now, I am coming from a country, this was achieved 30 years ago. 30, 40 years ago, we achieved literally almost complete, literacy levels and higher levels. The peasants' children going to universities. But the space for participation was not there for them. There are a lot of people waiting to participate, but they are not given a chance to participate. So this kind of very difficult problems are before the civil society, and I think we should face them.
I think in a sense what you are asking is what the Dalits really want. I think Dalits want share in the nation's wealth, the nation's resources. That means in land, air, water, education system, other resources, financial resources. So, Dalits in India today don't need to be used as beneficiaries of certain programs. I think we are citizens of this country and we contribute to the GDP of this country by involving ourselves in the unorganized labor, organized labor and service sectors everywhere. So the first demand would be that we need a total emancipation, economic emancipation, social emancipation and political emancipation, not less than this. So therefore, it is a duty of the duty bearers of this country, especially the bureaucracy, the judiciary, the legislators, must see to that the laws which are in the constitution for us to protect our rights, protect socio-economic and political rights, that must be, respected and our dignity to be upheld. So in a sense, implementation of the law.
The word human rights turned to be discourse within the families. I don't know if they know all the values of human rights, but it gone to every household in Afghanistan through the media, through the work that we are doing, and it turned to be discourse. A very, very conservative society now in Afghanistan keep complaining that their women are resisting within the family about their rights. And I think that is a good achievement for us. And I'm not saying we are done, we are just at the beginning of the very, very difficult, bumpy road ahead of us. And I think, I keep saying that if we have justice in Sri Lanka, it will help us. If we have justice in Afghanistan, it will help you in different ways. And we have to be united, and we have to not negotiate on principles and values of human rights.
That is all for this week's Roundup. For more on these and other issues, please visit www.humanrights.asia or www.rightlivelihood.org. Thank you for watching and see you again next week.